Hey guys, so I've been thinking, and it has been a long time since I've managed to upload something, and I bought a lovely new camera and I haven't really used it yet. So I thought it was a great opportunity to do a get to know me vlog. Going to talk for a few minutes about sort of how I got into triathlon, how I got into fitness, how I came to be this absolutely crazy person who somehow got 10,000 followers on Instagram. I'm gonna talk about everything. So let's get to it. I grew up in Southampton, which is literally as far down south as you can go. I was born in the New Forest, and then when my parents broke up when I was about 5, we moved to an area called Sholing, which was near my nan and granddad, so that mum could have some help with bringing us up. I went to a school called Heathfield, and then yeah, I started at Sholing Girls' School, so that was my secondary school. The whole time I was there, I was pretty inactive, to be honest. Like I was quite overweight. I would get home from work, definitely wasn't work. I'd get home from school, have like a jacket potato with some cheese and beans, then have dinner 2.5 hours later. So I was quite different to how I am now. From there, I think when I was in about year 10, I joined the Air Cadets. And in a bid to become a bit more fit, I started running. Now, I remember it so well. It was so hard. Like, I used to run for 30 seconds and be like, I just don't see this ever getting easier. It did. Don't worry, it did. So, yeah, so basically started doing some running. I didn't really change what I ate to begin with, but started losing some weight and I really started to feel a lot better in myself. From there, I then started to change what I ate a bit, and I definitely saw a massive improvement in my fitness in the first bit. I remember sort of racing my stepdad to who could get to the 5k quickest, and I was over the moon back then at a 30-minute 5k. It was like something amazing. I kind of, even now, I sometimes just do sit back and think what I've achieved in sport from where I came from. Like, I've not been one of these naturally fit people who's always been fit, and I think there's something nice about that. Yeah, joined Air Cadets, and I actually, once I'd started Air Cadets, I was running probably 2 or 3 times a week. I'd go to the gym at this point though. I was running on the treadmill, and I think my peak before I left school / when I started college was running for an hour 3 times a week on the treadmill. And I vividly remember they were refurbing my gym and I used to run against a green wall for an hour. I don't even know how I did it now. I literally don't think I could. But yeah, so I've been through it all. I've been through the blisters, the unfitness, the getting faster. Yeah, crazy times. Good times, but crazy times. All the way through college, I kept up this crazy running thing I had going on. I used to travel about half an hour to get to college. I went to a college called Barton Peveril, and I used to get off on my way home, go to the gym to run, and then I'd get a lift home from my stepdad, and then every Friday we would have Takeaway Friday, so we'd go and get the greasiest chips with doner meat and chicken. It was divine. Still amazing memories. So I think what I'd say now is it was probably around my 2nd year of college that I think I started to develop a bit more of an unhealthy relationship with food. As I said, to begin with, it was all really healthy weight loss, but I just kept getting smaller and smaller, and I think it's kind of scary how much other people's comments influence you, going, oh my gosh, you look amazing. And I think in your head you kind of link those two things together, where you're like, I look amazing, I'm losing weight, this must be linked. So at that point, Friday takeaway was gone, and I became a bit sort of serious. I would let myself get hungry. I became a bit serious with it all, a lot less fun, and I was really conscious about every single thing I was putting in my body in a not very good way. I think I noticed it in myself. I never had anorexia. I was never completely starving myself, but everything I ate I burnt. Like, I was doing this 3 hours of running a week, and to be honest, I can't even remember it. It might have even been more back then. But I recognised it in myself. So it was back then, I think, just before I went to uni, I had an appointment at the eating disorder clinic. But the thing is, it took so long to get an appointment. I'd actually managed to pull myself back into a reasonable state of living. But I think the thing you've got to remember is back then, I was living with my parents and it was a lot easier. Once I left home to go to uni, things got a bit worse. And I remember in my first year of uni, it was a lot of drinking, not a lot of eating, a lot of trying to fit my runs in where I could and going to uni. And I definitely backtracked there. And I remember coming home at Christmas and just trying to re-eat these calories, put this weight back on. And all through uni, I sort of went through this cycle of losing it, gaining it, losing it, gaining it, and which wasn't very healthy at all. And then in my second year of uni, I got into a relationship which, looking back, probably wasn't very healthy. Well, I know it wasn't very healthy, but it went on for a number of years. While there were a number of positives or negatives to take, but there were both, and there are positives and negatives to take from this relationship, I think it made me look at sort of myself and what I was actually doing and almost destroying myself to achieve this sort of unrealistic goal of being super slim, but also not enjoying life because I was just so tired all the time and I couldn't join in when we were going for takeaways. It was also at uni that I got into cycling. Now, my best friend at the time and my ex both cycled, and I'm quite a competitive person and I couldn't keep up, so I treated myself to a road bike and my love for cycling kind of just took off from there. Like, I loved being fast, I was riding with fast people, so I was getting faster and it was absolutely amazing. And I have to say, some of the best years of my cycling life were at uni. It was while I was at uni as well, I think in my final year, I met a guy who was like, you should give triathlon a go, because I was still running at this point, just cycling more than I was running. So I just randomly, I think I entered a swim run or something like that. Bearing in mind I wasn't swimming at all, and I was like, this is kind of fun, I like this. So I can't remember when my first triathlon was, but I hadn't done any swimming for it. It was completely off the bat, and I didn't do badly from what I can remember because I was a really decent cyclist and runner, and we all know they make up a massive part of the triathlon. Just before I left uni, I met a lady who was doing Ironman UK, and from that point, I had decided I had to do an Ironman. It was just on my list, and the Ironman I wanted to do was Ironman Lanzarote. I can't even remember why that was the one, but oh no, I can. Chrissy Wellington, loved her book, check it out. Yeah, I left uni and I had a graduate job at Rolls-Royce. Now, it was in Derby. I was still sort of too invested in this relationship that wasn't working, and I really struggled to move. Like, I still remember the heartbreak. I just could not get over it. I really struggled at this job. It was a tricky one because it was a graduate scheme, so you were just constantly moving around and you had a lot of different managers and a lot of them just didn't have work for you. So I actually really struggled, I guess, at that point, because I have a need to be busy. I'm one of those people. So I actually stayed at Rolls-Royce for 2.5 years, which was 2.5 years longer than I thought I would, to be honest. But during that time, I kind of moved from Derby to Sheffield, back to Derby, to another place in Derby. And then I finished off in Nottingham, which was where I met Kerry, who has been an absolute lifesaver for me. So I moved in with Kerry the month of Ironman Wales. So I'd actually decided I was doing Ironman Wales about 5 months earlier than that. Now, at this 5 months earlier, I still was very light. I was trying to gain weight, but it is so hard when you're in that mindset. I started working with a coach, and he firstly cut my commutes out by bike. I think that year before I'd cycled 10,000 miles outside on the bike, which if you're into cycling, you know that's quite a lot. He cut out a lot of my commutes and sort of started to balance my training a bit. I actually did some swimming. I did a lot more running and cut back on the cycling. And I was doing some gym work as well, which was also quite different to anything I'd done before. I did Ironman Wales and it was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. I was back at a healthy weight. It was hard, don't get me wrong, but it was just amazing. Like, once I was out of the swim, I was in my element. I loved the bike course, loved the run. The support on the run was bonkers, and it was just amazing. It was especially special for me because both of my parents were there, which I didn't expect, I guess, in a way. So I actually swam when I was younger for City of Southampton Swim Club, so I haven't come to the triathlon game completely swim free, just haven't swam in years, which it is obvious when I swim because I'm nowhere near as fast as I used to be, and it's one area I'd really like to improve on. But yeah, I didn't come from a no swim background, and I do know that a lot of people struggle with the swimming. It's the hardest discipline for them. Once the swim's over, I'm in my element. While I'm swimming an Ironman swim in the sea, I'm literally like, oh my gosh, why do I do this? Why do I do it? One thing I do remember from Wales as well is my little tagline. I was like, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And it was in my head like the whole way round. And it kind of got me to the end, and picturing the finish line, going over an Ironman finish line is like nothing else. The relief, the joy, the sort of like proudness you feel for yourself because you're out there for a long time, and yeah, absolutely amazing experience. The Ironman Wales was done, and then I had decided that the next year I was going to try and qualify for Kona, and that was that. While I was living in Derby, I did my first marathon as well. So I used to be a really fast runner, and I think this is one thing I'm struggling with a bit at the moment because I had a big period of injury and I'm nowhere near the speed I used to be, and it does get me sometimes. But yeah, I did my first marathon and I came 3rd female in it, in a time of 3:17, but I did run it injured, and I can't remember if that was the injury that took me out, but yeah, I was in absolute agony for the last 4 miles. But looking back at it now, I don't regret it at all. It was before Ironman Wales, so I had 5 months to recover for Ironman Wales, and yeah, it was absolutely epic. Southampton Marathon, if you're ever that way, check it out. Same day as London, from what I can remember. I left Rolls-Royce at the end of 2018, which was the same year as Kona, and I had decided I was going to do my personal training course and get a job as a personal trainer. It's something I've always wanted to try, so I was like, let's do it. I did my PT course for the first 3 months of the year, and I got a job as a waiter at that point in a local hotel. Don't think it's my calling in life, if I'm being honest there. So during this time, I was obviously training for Lanzarote, and then 3 months in, I got a job at David Lloyd, which it wasn't everything I thought it was going to be. And I was kind of sat there and I was like, can I imagine myself doing this for the rest of my life? And the answer was no. I actually did 3 months at David Lloyd. Meanwhile, I did go to Ironman Lanzarote and I got my Kona slot. I came first, and it was literally, I think, one of the most amazing experiences of my life. I actually think that Lanzarote was, for me, even better than Kona, which is kind of crazy. After Lanzarote, I came back and I started applying for jobs, sort of office based jobs again. And I got a job as an assistant buyer at a company called Outkit. I was there for a year in the end. I got furloughed early 2020, and I decided it was time for me to move on. I think I wanted a bit more progression than I was getting. So I started applying for jobs during lockdown, and then I got my job at Co-op, where I am now, and I absolutely love it. Obviously, while I was at Outkit, I also went to Kona for 2 weeks, which was another amazing experience, and I feel truly blessed that I had that experience and was able to go. I guess for me, by the time Kona was over though, I definitely felt a little bit burnt out. I'd done 3 Ironmans in 18 months, while for the majority of it working full time, and I can honestly say it really does take it out of your body. You almost don't realise it, but the training is gruelling, and if you're not enjoying it all, it's extra gruelling. And I got to the point, I guess, at the end of 2019 where I wasn't necessarily enjoying it all anymore, and it was definitely becoming a bit of a slog. 2020 has actually been a really good year for me in a way, because it's given me that time off to not feel guilty. There are no races, we're not training for anything, and it's given me that time to sort of re-find that joy in triathlon for me. And this year I'm actually really excited to see what happens, because I'm back in the game, I'm enjoying it again, and it's a breath of fresh air.